First and foremost, let's have a quick look at what will be covered in the next 15 minutes or so. I'll try to be fast. I know we're running a little bit behind time. So for the operations and supply chain area, I've picked a few changes I found interesting for you, and they fall under these modules. So we have procurement, warehouse management, manufacturing, inventory and logistics, the product information management, or also PIM. And finally, there will be a bonus cross-application function that I'll show you in a little bit. So under the procurement, we'll take a look at how you can now source from multiple vendors, and then I'll introduce you to the new dashboard to assess supply risk, also known as SRA, the dashboard, which I think is one of the most interesting changes on this release, at least for supply chain side. Then under the warehouse management, we will look at two new functionalities in the warehouse app, or the ScanGAN app, with the first one being a cool new searching tool, and with the second one allowing users to take multiple detours within the ScanGAN app. Both of these releases aim to improve the warehouse worker's job, but we will see more details in a little bit down the line. Yeah. So after that, I will show you other two improvements in the manufacturing module regarding the timing of which finished goods can be available in the on-hand inventory. And right after that, we'll quickly dive into the enhancements you can now achieve for your business using sensor data intelligence to monitor your equipment and machinery. I think we already saw a little bit from Rob on this topic. I will also show you what has changed in the product information management, not much, but it's where you can now set your product information details to be in your language of preference, which can be extremely handy, not only for online businesses, but also any other businesses with minimal international exposure, really. Last but not least, we will see then the cross-application enhancement that enables users to have more Excel-like functionalities built in Dynamics grids, which I believe can really help users being more efficient with their outputs. And well, having said that, let's quickly jump into the procurement module, shall we? So I'm sure all of us here know just as well how the COVID pandemic, the lockdowns, the consequent spike of online shopping and demand for products on a global scale have stretched the boundaries of the supply chain industry, putting it through a massive, relentless, and prolonged test, which brought its main weaknesses straight up to the surface. And a key highlighted aspect across the industry was the need for more flexibility if the supply chain was to succeed as a business in the future. And with that in mind, we know that diversifying the supply network can help businesses be more agile and, above all, of course, more responsive to changes. This is the reason why planning optimization can now support multi-vendor sourcing by allowing users to establish vendor sourcing ratios, which can be applied during master planning. For example, you could set a rule to ensure you will purchase 70% of materials from vendor X, while the other 30% you will purchase from vendor Y. So it's needless to say that you can set this rule up to as many different suppliers as you'd like or need. Yeah. Now, I'm sure this enhancement will significantly improve performance and scalability with its in-memory processing. It will surely minimize system impact on other processes, as you can now run the master planning as a separate service, not to mention that you can also get close to real-time insights into requirement changes by simply running the master planning a few times a day, including working hours, because remember, it will not have an impact on performance as it can run as a separate service. It is undebatable that demand fluctuations can be more manageable if you have a choice of suppliers with whom to adjust your order volumes But the bottom line here is having 2 or more suppliers will surely increase your company's ability to bypass supply disruptions, which brings me to my next slide on supply risk. It's very cool stuff here. All right, so in order to provide a better way to assess risk, then Microsoft has developed a new dashboard that we'll see in a second, the Supply Risk Assessment Dashboard, or SRA, as I said before. And let's maybe take a sneak peek at it. Voila, here. As you can see here, this is an historic of all your transactions, but with some white cream on top of it, kind of. So each purchase order inserted in the system will be carefully analyzed so that precise statistics can be drawn from these transactions and allow you to become even more agile when making decisions. Here, we can see the on-time delivery rates for a given supplier, the purchase orders created to date, the products ordered, as well as the quantities purchased so far. So for this supplier, you can see there is still an expected purchasing quantity of 650,000, but the delivery in full rate is only 50%. So this is when you could look for a better rated supplier, ensuring the on-time delivery of your supplies. Yeah. I'm positive this dashboard will help businesses being always one step ahead of the game, taking taking proactive actions to balance costs and resilience in due time, understand the impact of potential sourcing disruptions like shortages or delays or whatnot, and optimize their supply chains by identifying main risk factors such as high-risk areas, high-risk vendors, bottleneck products, and whatnot. I think this is a great addition from Microsoft. It will add tons of value to most businesses across the globe, and I strongly suggest you read more on it later on when you have some time. You can click on the link in my previous slides, and you'll see how cool this actually can be. Yeah. All right, moving on to warehouse management. Good. So here, I want to show a small yet important addition to the warehouse management app that I think adds also a lot of value to the vast majority of businesses using this application across the world. We are all aware that the scanning capability of the warehouse app provides an easy and accurate way of capturing data. Up to here, all is good. However, in reality, barcodes can sometimes get damaged, ripped, wet, missing, who knows, right? So the point is, if the barcode is somehow unreadable or missing in any shape or form, then what, right? Well, then workers must use extra time to manually key in data. And the problem here is that this can result in data entry errors, reduced efficiency, and lower service level. This issue is now minimized by allowing workers to search for and select related records from a list rather than entering data manually. So using a flexible data inquiry process, workers can now look up for the required information while working through their standard embedded warehouse app flows. Filtering options also ensure that only the most relevant data is listed, thereby making manual selection faster and more accurate. Yeah. An example where this could be of value is the purchase order, which you can see here, the purchase order receiving flow, where the PO number is required to match the arriving inventory. The system admins can easily configure the menu items to provide a card list that shows relevant purchase order numbers, making it possible for workers to continue the receiving flow using a quick point-to-select approach. The below example, which is here, shows how a worker could look up the open purchase orders for a vendor using just a part of the vendor name, for example, and a wildcard character. Yeah. All right, so the next interesting addition, still within the warehouse app, are the multi-level detours. So here we are. For those of you who don't know what detours are or what the pause function is, I will briefly explain so we all on the same boat and we all understand it. The pause function allows workers to pause their current task and go on with their business, doing something else without losing their data, right? So they can come back to that task at a later stage and pick it up from there where they left it. This proved to be a very useful feature in the past, but something else was missing. How about pausing multiple tasks at one go? That was not possible, but it certainly is now. Yeah. So basically, the tours allow workers to stop their current task to perform another, more important one, and from this task, jump to yet another area of the warehouse app, and then return to the original task without losing any information. I think this is pretty cool. However, it's worth mentioning here that this feature only supports 2 levels of detours as standard out of the box. But if your business requires further levels of detouring, a code extension can be created as a customization pretty simply. So, right. So, short of time. So this is, yeah, let's have a look at the manufacturing now. Let's have a quick look here. All right, so the first feature enhancement I want to show you on the manufacturing process is or has to do with the timing in which goods become available in the on-hand inventory. This feature benefits mainly high-volume manufacturers who may have experienced latency issues during the report as finished process. You now have an option, a trigger switch, which allows you to decide whether you want to have your finished goods available once the report is finished, has become or has been completed, which ties in with the old process and may cause latencies, or have them ready in available status as soon as the worker declares the goods as finished. So this way you can buy yourself some time while the system generates all the put away works, adds all the related journal postings to a batch queue, so it can process them later as the system resources may allow. So you don't have to care about this any longer. In the meantime, you have your finished goods available to be picked and processed, for example, in an outbound job, and you can avoid having fully loaded trucks waiting outside for documentation to be issued, right? So this is surely handy to many businesses I know out there. Right, still in the manufacturing, let's take a look at how what you can do with some sensor data intelligence, which we already had a little bit of a sneak peek before. So you can choose to install automatic electronic sensors in your machines and equipment, which enable Dynamics then to collect and display information about its uses and status. This solution provides real-time visibility into maintenance, inventory, planning, and cost, enabling your organization to drive critical business processes completely automated based on sensor data from machines and equipment on the production floor. For instance, you can collect details to update maintenance asset counter values in supply chain management to drive predictive maintenance. You can leverage a simple onboarding wizard to set up the solution, as opposed to manually installing and configuring components in lifecycle services. You can deploy components on your own subscription, allowing you additional flexibility to manage Azure components. And you can also configure, scale, and extend the solution as business logic running on Azure components. Very good. So let's move on to the product information management right here. So this is a small change, but I think it adds a lot of value. Here we have something quite interesting, I would say, for companies operating worldwide, where it is important to enable each user to work with product information in their own language. This way, sales representatives communicating with customers will see product names in their own language. Shop floor workers will get product names and instructions in familiar terms, but above all, the buyers will be able to search for products in the language they speak. And I think that this is the crucial point. Yeah, this is where things get really interesting. When I think of this enhancement, I keep thinking about how eBay and other online shops use this function to their great advantage. It is so convenient to look for a product on your own language, have it translated in the background, and then have as many results as one can possibly get from all over the world, right? So again, here, I think you all agree, big value being delivered in a small package. And yeah, great. So let's see what else of interest is in here. Yeah. So this is the increased grid control. So this last feature I'll be showing you today, not specifically related to supply chain as it expands throughout the entire application, but it certainly adds value not only to supply chain, but all the other modules and departments across your organization. I think for most users in Dynamics, this feature has been on the waiting list for quite some time, and I'm sure it will be a great surprise to many of you. And will be received for sure with wide open arms. That is the increased grid control, now featuring multiple Excel functions that allow you, for example, to evaluate math expressions. Basically, it will accept basic formulas and display its results. You can copy multiple lines and paste them in one go, all at once. While you're pasting high volume lines, you can also check the status of each line in real time. You can freeze columns, not to mention you can also group up columns to display maximum values, minimums, average values, and what else. I'm sure this feature will ease up many people's lives and increase general productivity in most companies out there. So I strongly suggest each and every one of you to have a look at the link here on the bottom right, where you can see all the functionalities added and how they work. And it is pretty cool, and you will not regret it, I guarantee. All right, I think my time is up, so time to hand over to my dear colleague Angelo, so he can send us all maybe to a short break or not. Maybe we don't have time for that. Yeah. Again, thank you all for coming and for your interest. And yeah, Angelo, the stage is all yours once again.